Do you tend to be a little bit too serious in your life? I don't know about you, but I know I was stuck in my head for a long time where everything was just so hard. There was not much room for joy, humor, and play in my own life. And I've realized that through a lot of studies and whatnot, that play, humor, was an important component of our success as a leader, our success as an entrepreneur. So this week I reached out to Michael Kerr, who is an international speaker who really goes around the world and talks about the humor at work, the importance of humor at work. And really his goal is to inspire, to create cultures that are more inspiring for the people who work there, but also how humor is profitable. It's really an asset to your business. So without further ado, get ready. That one's pretty funny. Let's go to the interview with Michael. Michael, thank you so much for accepting my invitation today.
Well, thank you for giving me an invitation. It's so awesome to be here, Sarah. How are you today?
I'm very good. You might hear in the background, I have several teenagers who are actually really embracing our concept today. They will be leaving soon, so we're good.
Wild roaming teenagers, yes.
Yes, really enjoying it,
Yes.
They probably get something that we forget as adults, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. But before we get into today's topic, if you could take a moment and introduce yourself, please.
My name is Michael Kerr. I'm calling in from my beautiful home in Canmore, Alberta, spectacular, amazing, inspiring Canmore, Alberta in the Canadian Rockies. I run a business called Humour at Work. I typically, in pre-pandemic times, travel around the world researching, writing, and speaking about inspiring leaders, inspiring workplaces, and especially with a business or with a focus on businesses that leverage their humor advantage to laugh all the way to the bank.
And I will add to your bio because I think you're too humble to say you also wrote several books.
Well, thank you, Sarah. Yeah, I did. Yes, I wrote 8 books. My most recent one is called, let me see if I can find it. It's right here. What a coincidence. The Jerk-Free Workplace, how you can take the lead to create a happier, more inspiring workplace. And I'm perhaps best known for the humor advantage, why some businesses are laughing all the way to the bank, which is lurking right over my shoulder, subtly.
How does that really just happen,
I know, right?
And Michael, so we know each other. We're both in the Speakers Association, and you speak about the importance of humor at work. And I love the topic, and bringing fun into my work, into my life is also something that I was going to say I'm working on right now, but I'm integrating more and more in my life and in my business as well. The couple of years I've been working on it because I was very serious. I used to be the very, very serious one. So tell me, when it comes to humor and fun, why don't people have more fun and don't bring more humor at work?
I don't know. I don't get it. I think there's a few reasons, Sarah. I think some people just they're a little bit nervous about it because they have a misconception about what we're actually talking about when we talk about humor. So they're worried perhaps about being politically correct. They're worried about offending somebody. They're worried that it might be perceived as being not very professional, that you're not taking your job seriously, or they just don't know how to do it. I hear that a lot. Well, I'm just not very funny. So let me try and in one nutshell here, dispel some of those misconceptions. See what I did there? Misconceptions about humor. When we talk about humor, especially in a business context, in a workplace context, let's be clear, I am not talking about being a stand-up comedian, so you don't have to run out and take stand-up comedy courses anytime soon. I'm not talking about telling jokes. That could be a small part of it, but it's a very small part of it. In fact, I'm not even talking about being funny all the time. I think it's more important to look for ways to do things that keep us in a spirit of fun. Doing things in a spirit of fun rather than trying to be funny. There's a lot of pressure to be funny. Even professional comedians sometimes are challenged to be funny all the time. So it's about laughing at the things we have no control over in the world. It's about being more human, more real, more authentic. It's especially from a leadership perspective, it's about taking ourselves lightly, laughing at ourselves in order to take our jobs more seriously, ironic. So it's not about taking our jobs or our customers lightly, taking ourselves lightly. And is it not a truism, Sarah, that when a person takes themselves really seriously, we all stop taking that person seriously because they're taking themselves so bloody seriously that nobody takes them seriously anymore because they're just so darn serious.
Be around.
Yeah, exactly.
Somebody who is so serious.
Right. So boy, it's an incredibly important gift, I think, especially as a leader, if you have that ability to laugh at yourself, to laugh at your own bloopers, your own, very human fumbles that you make. And that's why it's positively correlated to being more humble. I think when we share a positive sense of humor in the workplace, it helps us retain our humility, our humanity. And there's studies that suggest that we trust people more who share a healthy, positive sense of humor because they do come across as more real, more genuine. And on that point too, I do want to stress that when I'm talking about using humor, I am talking still about practicing safe humor at work. So of course we have to be careful with the type of humor that might come across as bullying or disparaging or sexist or racist.
Inappropriate.
Yeah, it's about using humor in a positive way and being clear on your intent. And so one of the things I always say, if people are concerned about humor being inappropriate to that degree, I always suggest as a starting point, well, let's just not even call that humor. And really, it's not an issue around humor. If you're concerned about, say, sexist humor in the workplace, it's not a humor issue. It's an issue around sexism. And you have to have that conversation, right? It's an issue around how you're communicating and how you're coming across.
And I like how you make the distinction between, humor and bringing that sense of humor, like that feeling. And I think as leaders and as entrepreneurs, because the people who are listening to us are entrepreneurs, when we also bring in humor and we're able to laugh at ourselves, laugh at maybe mistakes that we did or things that we forgot, actually, we allow ourselves to make mistakes, which means that I will be willing to do more things, try more things.
Yeah, exactly. I love that, right? We know that ha plus ha equals a ha too, right? From a lot of studies, that humor is a huge catalyst for thinking creatively. So back to the entrepreneur question, it's pretty important as entrepreneurs to always be thinking creatively, to come up with innovative ideas. And we know humor is a big driver for that. But that's a great point too as well, Sarah, that if we can learn to just laugh at our mistakes that we make in the pursuit of trying something new, then of course it's going to help us. It's going to help us manage our stress, be more resilient. And it is, as you say, going to help us have the courage, I think, to try new things if we know that we can at least laugh it off in a fun way. In fact, this is a growing trend all over the world where entrepreneurs hold these failure parties, these F-up parties, yes, right? Where they share.
I went to a couple in Montreal. I love them.
Yeah, they're awesome, right? But that's a way of kind of bringing some humor to something that went off the rails in a fun way so that we're open about our blunders and we learn from them, right? There's a Swedish software company where they actually have failure parties to celebrate their failures in a funny, positive way. And so people share their stories. And what that does too, it helps build trust again because people are more open and honest. And it makes sure that you have this open and honest and psychologically safe workplace environment where people admit their mistakes so we're not repeating them all the time, right? Because it's not a question of, where is it? Oh, here it is, right? It's not a question as leaders, as entrepreneurs, it's not a question of if we're going to do one of these, it's when's the next time. So if we can just remember that and embrace it as hard as it can be sometimes in the moment to just laugh at this. In fact, Sarah, we used to, in one company I worked in, we used to have the official Bonehead Play of the Month award. And how it worked was you had to nominate yourself because it doesn't exactly build the team spirit to start nominating other boneheads on your team.
Yeah.
So you had to nominate yourself. And then we had this small ceremony, always on a Friday afternoon, the last Friday of the month, where sometimes there were 6 people, sometimes 3 people, sometimes just me, where you would get up and you'd have to say, okay, here's the biggest bonehead thing I did this month. And then you'd win a small prize. So you felt less bad about doing something bonehead. You felt less embarrassed or sheepish, but it also created that open environment. So we learned from each other's mistakes.
I love it, because I find that in entrepreneurs, many are so serious. Like, yes, they want to bring their expertise to the world. They want to help clients. But sometimes, too often, especially nowadays, people want to go back to that human to human, that relationship. And people just forget to be human again.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And it's such an old cliche, but we don't do business with other businesses. We do business with human beings, right? So like you said, it's all about trust. It's all about relationship building, connection. And we know humor can help us connect with people. It can help us stand out from the herd to be heard. And we know from studies too, when we use humor with our customers or clients, it can actually help reduce their resistance to a price, to paying a certain fee. It can increase our response rate in email messages. There's one study I have in my book where it talks about salespeople who just include a safe, non-offensive, funny cartoon related to their business, related to their industry. That always helps, I think.
Yeah.
To their clients. And when they send the cards, they get a much higher response rate. And I have this great study. I love this study, Sarah, that I talk about, where they did this one study where they're seeing how humor affects negotiation tactics in terms of the sale of an expensive, I think it was a $6,000 piece of art, a painting. And so they did in this study one kind of control group where they just kind of tried to negotiate this price. But in the other group, at the end of the offer, the salesperson trying to sell this painting for $6,000 said, and I'll throw in a pet frog for you. Right? That's all he said, right? So you'll get the painting for $6,000, plus I'll throw in a pet frog. Well, it was insane, but the study showed there was a huge difference. Just adding something that silly, that goofy, that kind of little humor thing caused people to be way less resistant to paying the $6,000. So, who knew throwing in a pet frog could be a good sales strategy?
That, maybe I'll do another, episode on, the best sales strategy, and I'll put in like throw in a pet frog and it will be great for your business. And it does come back to people like doing business with people they like and trust.
Yeah.
So the likability factor. So the likability factor as a leader for your team, but also the likability factor for your clients and your prospects of, working with him or working with her, it's going to be fun.
Right. It's going to be a joy. It's going to be a pleasure. It's not rocket science, right? We want to work with people we like, right?
And it's funny, it reminds me a few years ago, I sent a Christmas card, and the image on the top, on the cover of the card was like a deer that was stuck like that and his tongue on a metal pole. And then under was written, Merveille Myth, And to this day, I still have clients who talk to me about that Christmas card.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? It doesn't, and how big an effort was that, right? It doesn't take much to get noticed or to stand out, to just do something a little different, and extra inch thing that will just have a little bit of an impact with your clients.
Yes, and you know what? I had more fun choosing that card than any other card in my life.
Yeah.
So we understand, and I love it when you say you laugh all the way to the bank, because we understand that in business, humor is important. It's about bringing joy. So as a leader, it makes us a better leader. As an entrepreneur, it makes us a better entrepreneur. And as an advisor, a consultant for our clients, it also is good for our business. So now the question is how do we bring in humor in our business in a way that we bring in that relationship, but don't cross the barrier of, and I think that a lot of people are afraid that, I'm going to lose credibility if I bring in humor. So how do we bring in humor at work?
Yeah. And again, I want to touch that point again, since you brought it up about the losing credibility, that There's just so much research, and I've gone into so many organizations all over the world that have high levels of humor. They use humor to build a better culture, but they also talk about how humor reflects a more successful, positive culture, where it's easy to bring your sense of humor along for the ride because we built a rocking, respectful, high trust kind of culture. So we have to remember there's a chicken and egg relationship here with humor and culture. But in all those organizations, when I ask them about that proverbial line, and don't employees ever cross the line, or they look at me like I have three heads, and they say, no, it's just never an issue because we've built a positive, respectful culture. So I think you get the humor reflected largely in your culture. And there was a study, I belong to something called the International Group of Humor Studies. I think I'm botching the name here, but I go to some of their conferences, right? They talk about humor. Some of them, right. Some of the presentations are so
humor.
Yes, and there's some of them are so boring. The last one I went to was in Utrecht, Netherlands, but really cool topics. And there's a study that was presented about the role of the proverbial office joker in the workplace. And I love how some of the CEOs framed the role. And what the study found was that the joker played an incredibly important role in terms of sharing and retelling history stories about the corporation. So the jokers tend to be the people that keep the history alive, which helps strengthen the culture. They tend to be people who can speak truth to power a lot easier, which is important in a successful workplace culture. They kind of played the role of the old court jester in telling the king, what's really going on. They were good for morale. All these positive benefits, right? So when they were asked that question about the office joker crossing the line, the response from the leaders was always something along the lines of, yeah, okay, once in a while they overstep, but you know what? The benefit that they bring so vastly outweighs the occasional misstep. And when they do misstep, they usually know it themselves. And maybe we'll have a conversation and just say, hey, Bob, you should probably go apologize. I'll go apologize, right? And that's it, right? We have to be so careful that we're paranoid, that they're walking on eggshells and creating this oppressive environment that sucks the fun out of the joint. So back to your central question, though, how the heck do we bring this into the workplace?
Yes.
So many ways we can do it. I've seen
you in conference with a rubber ducky and like all kinds of. And I'm like, I'm not sure everyone would apply. It would apply to everyone to bring a rubber ducky into a meeting,
Right. Right. Yeah. And you have to be true to your personality too, right? It has to fit your style, your brand. And by the way, again, I want to stress this. We're not talking about being an extrovert. Some of the most effective, inspiring entrepreneurs and leaders and business leaders I've met are introverts. Some of them are shy, and yet they still have a very healthy sense of humor, or they still realize the importance of building a culture with a positive sense of humor. So they make sure they're not stepping on that humor. They allow it to still happen. So some ways to bring it into your workplace. One of the most important ones for me is in your meetings, because to me, meetings are a really important cultural touch point. Meetings help shape the culture that you want, because where else are you getting everyone together, right, to talk about your ideas and communicate? So meetings are a really important place to build your culture, but they should also reflect your culture. So if you want to be known as a fun place to work, as an innovative place to work, then your meetings should probably be fun and innovative. So make sure you're introducing some fun into your meetings. A Scientific America study, amongst several studies, found even that those meetings that have a lot of fun in them, with a lot of bantering, joking around, tend to be more successful. People are more open, they're more honest, they're more creative again, because ha plus ha equals aha. So look for opportunities, open up your meeting with a fun icebreaker. Maybe it's going around and just asking everybody a really goofy, crazy question. Maybe it's standing up and passing an imaginary energy ball to one another across the conference table. Maybe it's pulling out a random question from a question jar with a really odd question on it. Just something simple, opening with a funny quote, having a theme meeting where everyone wears a name tag, one of those just hello, my name is, but everybody has to answer a different quirky question. Doing a humor break in the middle of the meeting. I worked in one company where we used to have the rumor mill section in the meeting, where we wanted people to speak freely about things they were hearing. And the way it worked was, and it always generated laughs because everybody had to do the same thing. You had to lean into the table, look up and down, and then whisper, "Word on the street is," and then say a rumor. And it's kind of goofy, but it made it safe for people to talk about things they might have been uncomfortable to bring up. And bring some contests into your, have fun penalties for people who violate your meeting norms, or fun rewards for people who rock it in your meetings. One very simple, and I love this because it kind of keeps the energy up in a meeting, is a very simple thing you can do: name in the hat, where anytime anyone in your meeting says something particularly pithy or funny or insightful or just brilliant, you go, "Oh wow, Sarah, that's a keeper. I'm putting Sarah's name in the hat." You put Sarah's name in the hat, you can get your name in as many times as you say something funny, pithy, creative. And then at the end of the meeting, you have a draw for just some simple little fun prize, right? So there's lots of ways. And in fact, even in the virtual world, we can do this too. I have an article on my website that lists over 100 fun ways to inject a little humor and fun into your virtual meetings.
Oh, I like it. And so what I'm hearing is really, so we're making up that story that humor will impact my credibility. So that's a story that's a myth that we've created. And what I'm also hearing is basically there is no limit.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's just us to get out of our head.
Exactly.
And say, okay, how can we bring in more fun, more joy into the work life? How can we bring more fun, more joy into the business? And I think as a leader, it starts with us, is how maybe can I be more fun and more joyful? Yeah.
One of the metaphors I use often with leadership is I think of leaders as orchestra conductors, right? We have to remember we're orchestra conductors. And through our actions, through our tone of voice, our body language, the words we choose, through our sense of humor, we affect the music that we are leading in our team, in our workplace, through our character. So think about the kind of music you want playing. Back to your point of just infusing your workplace with joy, there's a company called Argus Industries based in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And they have this wonderful mantra that I think everyone should embrace. And it's simply this: work is hard enough as it is without making it any harder. And that's why they embrace this incredible spirit of fun. They have, I'm not sure if they're still doing this, but they used to have this wacky tradition. I love it, and they do all sorts of things to infuse their workplace with fun, but they had this tradition going for years where starting in December, an employee would show up with a gorilla costume. You'd wear the gorilla costume and hide all over their office and their manufacturing plant, waiting to scare the bejesus out of a coworker, while another coworker secretly videotaped the reaction of all these mostly blue-collar guys screaming their heads off. And then they'd create this montage video and show it at their year-end party. And it became a huge part of their culture, their tradition, this gorilla thing, right? And that's another way, by the way, Sarah, a great way of infusing your workplace with more humor is to look for traditions and rituals. Every inspiring workplace, every inspiring workplace I've interviewed, they're huge fans of rituals and traditions because that's what helps it shape our culture. It creates that shared sense of history and team experience, and it gives us something to look forward to and something to reminisce about. And there's no shortage of things you could do. Maybe it's a ritual to kick off the work week on a Monday morning where you get everybody jazzed and excited about the top goals of the week. I know a lot of my clients, they do a Friday afternoon huddle where they have, and it's always a set agenda, but it's very fun. It's very celebratory. People share their 3 best things that happened during that week. So people end on a high note. So celebrating, your milestones, as you said earlier, is a great tradition to create in your workplace. It could be a sales milestone. It could be something else. If you're doing a big change, making sure you break down the different milestones and you celebrate, you recognize people, you reward people in fun ways. Celebrating the offbeat theme days. Again, I put these on my website. Today is International Dog Day as we're doing this interview today, Sarah. But they're coming up, September 19th is International Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Yes, so and you share them in your social media all the time, and I love it.
Yeah. So, just even doing something that simple, to just flag it on your voicemail message or an email message, or putting it on a whiteboard sign somewhere that, hey, today is answer your cat's question day, because and making up your own theme days. So again, I have clients who do all sorts of fun ones. One of my favorite ones, I think, has got to be third person Thursdays, where everybody, and this is a great one for introverts too, for people who don't, because it's so simple to do. Third person Thursdays, where everyone refers to themselves by their own name. So in the third person. So in other words, if I was working in that company, I'd be saying, yeah, Mike's looking forward to the meeting this afternoon. Hey, Mike has an idea. Like, it's so stupid, right? But how could you not walk around with a big smile on your face all day doing something like that? It's just awesome.
At home, I often do the rhyme day. So everything that I do has to rhyme all day long.
Oh, that's awesome.
My kids are like, okay, mom, okay. But they remember, right?
Yeah, that's a great creative challenge. That's awesome.
It is, because it really makes your brain go, okay, hold on, I want to say this, but what's the last word going to be out of my sentence? So it actually rhymes with the other one. So, and I love like you're having a meeting with clients and there's a day that's chocolate chip cookie day, Right. So it's like you bring chocolate chip cookie and you bring them at the office and you have a meeting and say, hey, today's chocolate chip cookie day, and the client's like, it makes you memorable.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I think all around. So it makes you a better leader, brings a better culture, brings in more creativity.
Yeah.
And the client experience is a reflection of our culture. So it gives a greater client experience. And at the end of the day, people will continue working with businesses, with people where it's actually fun.
Yeah. Right. If employees are having fun, chances are our customers are having fun. If our customers are having fun, chances are our employees are going to have more fun. Right. It all ties together.
And then we all go and laugh all the way to the bank.
Yes, exactly. And on the customer stuff too. I mean, we didn't talk a lot about this, but a simple thing you can do too is just go through every single touch point that you have with your customers and just ask yourself, is there just a simple way we could make this a little more fun? Is there something we could do to just stand out in our email signature, even in our invoices, adding a funny quote, putting more humor on our social media, on our website, on our voicemail. I remember phoning Shutterfly, the online photo web sharing site years ago, got the usual automated voicemail response. But at the end, they had this awesome option. If you'd like to hear all these options again, but in pirate, please press 9. I was like, what? Of course I want to hear these in pirate. So I pressed 9. There was a pirate. Matey, if you think your package has been lost at high seas, press number 1 now, right? It was so goofy, but did I remember that? Of course I did. Have I told everybody? Somebody once said, advertising is the price you pay for being boring. Yes. So when we do things like this, we stand out from the herd. People talk about us. We get mentioned in social media. We make an impact.
Yeah, and even like if you tell a joke to your client is actually going to go in his family with his friends and tell the other joke, or, coming back to the chocolate chip cookie, he's going to go back home and say, hey, we had a chocolate chip cookie, and they're going to talk about the experience.
Right, exactly. It's about creating that customer service experience that people are going to remember.
I love it. So bottom line, humor is good for the bottom line. I'll take that one.
That's very deep. I'm putting that on a bumper sticker.
That's going to be on yours. Michael, thank you so much. Every time I get to interact with you, I laugh. My cheeks are hurting all the time, If people want to know more about you and about your books, about what you do, and hopefully see you on conference, because you're definitely a speaker that I love watching you on stage. Where can people find you online?
Well, first of all, thank you for that. That's very kind of you to say those very kind things. You can find me online at www.humouratwork.com or www.mikekerr.com will get you there. MikeKerr. I sound like I'm singing the Mickey Mouse theme song now. MikeKerr.com will get you there. And I'd invite people to, I've got a weekly newsletter, Inspiring Workplaces, that talks about all this stuff. So I'd invite you to sign up for that. If you do sign up for that, you get a free ebook, 340 ways to put humor to work. So please check that out, and drop by my YouTube channel as well, Michael Kerr Inspiring Workplaces, where I upload videos about all this fun stuff, and some of it's fun, some of it's more serious, talking about creating inspiring workplaces, but lots of great content there too.
I will make sure that we put all the links in the description, so we let people go and bring that humanness back in business, and humor is a huge one. Again, thank you so much, Michael.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Enjoy. I hope you liked this episode. And you know what? First, if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Second, why don't you listen to it, watch it with your team, and ask yourselves, how could we bring more humor, more fun at work? I remember giving this as a homework to a client several years ago. Actually, it wasn't even several years ago, not too long ago. And I said, every Friday, here's the challenge. Every Friday, you come in the office and you say a joke. Of course, it took it out of his comfort zone. But you know what? Once he had the courage, he took the courage to do it. And we saw that the dynamic in the team changed. There was better interaction within the team members. Everything was more relaxed. So here's your mission this week. Bring humor at least once and pay attention of how people are reacting with your team. And how does this change the vibe in the team? And if you're looking for more tools to build and grow your service-based business, come on over to sarahgilbert.coach and join our blog. On a weekly basis, I share with you insight, resources on productivity, mindset, and marketing. Basically, all the tools you need to bring your service-based business to the next level. So take the mission, bring humor, because when we bring more humor, we become unstoppable entrepreneurs. And from there, we really see that so much more is possible. Thank you for being here week after week, and I'll see you next Tuesday.